The New York Times editorial board published an op-ed saying that a rise in marijuana use has not been harmless as it predicted 12 years ago. Now, that's not to say that the board doesn't support regulation, but it says that we need more guardrails in place as we learn more about the effects of the drug. A little over a decade ago, not one state allowed the use of recreational marijuana. Today, though, 24 states and Washington, D.C. have legalized it, and 40 have medicinal marijuana programs. By the end of 2026, though, 6 states could change their legal status as bills and ballot measures are up for discussion. So why is the New York Times calling for safeguards now? That's because the board brought the receipts. And by that, I mean that surveys say that 18 million Americans use marijuana daily, some more than once a day. Compare that to 2012, when that number was 6 million. And that's not all. Almost 3 million people show up at hospitals with marijuana-linked illnesses every year.
People are coming in with schizophrenia from marijuana. That's the condition where you start to have hallucinations, where you hear and see things that aren't actually present. And that's a serious issue.
That interview you just watched, that was from January of this year. But for decades, groups have compared marijuana to alcohol and tobacco. And even other groups have said that the criminalization of the drug has led to a disproportionate number of minorities put behind bars. But the New York Times also adds this, and I want to quote them here because they're talking about the data linked to the potency. They say, quote, the accumulating harm is broader and more severe than previously reported. So what's the solution? Well, the New York Times has a couple of ideas. First, they've suggested a federal tax, which could curb daily use, not harm occasional use. But they also talked about the levels of THC in these products. Get this, in 1995, the DEA said that the levels of THC in marijuana was around 4%. Today, guess what that number is? 90%. The bottom line here is the New York Times says there needs to be a middle ground and lawmakers need to set the bar.